It is just a huge, huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing hygienist Debora Carrier, who is the founder of TwiceAsNiceUniforms.com, co-founder of the CPR Sisters, a practicing dental hygienist and fashion model. Debora has 38 years experience as a clinical dental hygienist. Her clinical settings range from large group practices to smaller office, specializing in the care and treatment of adults with mild to severe disabilities. The CPR Sisters was co-founded in 2001 by Debora and her sister Darla. They had worked hand in hand with the community to raise awareness of sudden cardiac arrest in children, the importance of early CPR, and the placement of AEDs in public areas. They also partner with AHA, American Heart Association, through a grant to train as many lay people as possible in their community, and worked extensively with the Nader Parman Memorial Foundation to pass legislation to place at least one AED in all Georgia public schools. Was at Nader Parman. In 2014, Debora developed and patented a temperature-regulating, moisture-wicking antimicrobial uniform and founded Twice as Nice Uniforms. In addition to her many years working as a dental hygienist, she was also a high-fashion model. She took her experience and love of fashion in New York City, where she worked with and learned from industry experts about fabrics, fit, and manufacturing before setting out to create a new, stylish, technologically advanced approach to medical and dental apparel. Debora has been featured in RDH magazine, Dentistry Today, Dental Explorer, Dental IQ, Atlanta's Best Self, and winner of the Apparel magazine's Most Innovative Company of 2015. She's a member of the Crest Smile Council, partner with AACD, NCN, Mr. RDH, Smiles of Sea, and has participated in various podcasts, seminars, and fashion shows over the past 2 years. She has also partnered with Crest, Oral-B, and Atlanta Dental Supply to offer continuing education fashion shows to the dental community. She is a member of the American Dental Hygiene Association, OSAP, NCN, and Launchpad. A percentage of Twice as Nice uniform sales go to support the National Cancer Network Foundation. You are a busy, busy person. My God, do you ever sleep?
A little bit, but yes, I'm always on the go, and I like it that way.
Wow. So tell us, when I think of you, I think of 5 people in the office fighting over the thermostat. I mean, there's always someone that's freezing, there's someone too hot, and then some offices go to the point where they lock up the thermostat box, and I'm like, my God, there's got to be a better solution than locking up the thermostat box. So what's the answer? Is the office too hot or is it too cold?
It depends on who you are and where you're working. But yes, that is exactly why I started this. That story is in every single office out there. Every office I walk into, they have to tell me that story. So I'm a problem solver. So a couple of years ago, I started thinking about this issue because in my office, I was the one who was always freezing. And I would literally have to go outside at lunch to thaw out because I was so cold. And I felt uncomfortable being bundled up. I didn't feel like I looked professional, and so that's why I decided to start down that road. And I knew there was technology in fabrics, and I knew we could solve the issue. So that's what I did.
You know, seriously, in my little walnut brain, I had no idea there was any technology in fabrics. But talk about that. I mean, I just thought it started off with the Chinese making silk, and only the kings and queens could afford it, and then wool came along. And then cotton, when it came out, was called the poor man's wool. So the rich wore wool, which I think is scratchy and not very, but the poor man wore cotton. So are we gone past silk, wool, and cotton? Where are we at now?
Absolutely. I mean, there's all different types of blends that help you breathe, but there's also actually technology that's embedded in the fabric, basically like Under Armour fabric or dry fit, where it does regulate your temperature, helps your body to breathe, helps your body to regulate. There's also antimicrobial finishes.
Really? There's antimicrobial stuff in fabrics?
Oh yeah, it's a silver that's embedded. It's either sewn into it or it's embedded in the fabric. And it's good for so many washes, usually 50 washes. Ours are good for 100 washes. There's also technology for moisture wicking and actually moisture repellent. There's some fabrics you can literally spray a hose at you and it'll just brush right off of you. So it's very interesting what's happening with technology and fabric now is we're going down a road where eventually our clothes will be able to tell us, our heart rate, our temperature, all kinds of interesting things.
You know, the last couple times I was, you know, I got 4 boys, and we're all the same size, so underwear and socks disappear fast in this house. But a lot of those things like underwear and socks, you can't even hardly find cotton anymore. It's like all the choices are just some type of
Right.
nylon.
Yeah.
Is cotton?
It's kind of gone to the wayside for a lot of reasons. And in the medical uniforms, it has because it stains very easily, it wrinkles, it's hard to take care of.
So I always go straight to cost. I just always figured nylon was cheaper than cotton, but there's other reasons than just price.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you know, I love your YouTube video, and we were talking before the show is that you know, I feel like I already know you. I feel like I've already podcasted you. I mean, you look at these dental office websites, if they don't have a picture, you know, 100 people could land on the website and no one call the office. If they have a picture, maybe 10 people have to land to go to your website. But if you have a video, and when I watched your video, I mean, like, kudos to you. I feel like I already know you. Your YouTube video explains it so well. I'm gonna add it at the end of the show because it's very well done. But why don't you explain it more? Because it's hard for me to explain what it's kind of like a 2-part system.
Oh, on my uniforms?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way it works is there is a removable liner that snaps into the scrubs and into the lab coats. And the removable liner is the part that has the temperature regulating in it. I made it removable because I thought people might want the option, but honestly, I talked to very few people who actually take the liner out. I mean, you can even wash it, you know, with the liner in. So, but it's in everything. It's in the tops, it's in the pants, and it's in the lab coats. Now, what I do hear a lot is, especially for the people who are hot, they're like, well, why is an extra layer going to cool me off? And it is due to the technology. It's in the fabric. And all I can tell you is you just have to try it. And if you don't like it, you can return them. But I have very few people return them and say they don't work. So that's the way it works. It's just a removable liner that comes in and out. And then my outer fabrics also have the moisture wicking. They don't stain very easily. They don't fade. So they stay looking nice a long time. Because these are more expensive uniforms, but it's an investment. They're going to last you a lot longer.
You know, you have done hygiene for 38 years. Kudos to you. And podcasters are usually millennials, not baby boomers like us. And
Right.
they have a big soul searching thing about the uniform. I want to back up and have you address that first because you've done it 38 years. You're a fashion model. I was going to be a fashion model, but I was just got too busy at the very end and I couldn't work in the cover of GQ at the time. But a lot of them think I'm only 25. You got to display confidence, and you got to be the doctor. So some women think I should be in a full dress with high heels. A lot of the men think I should be in a suit and tie. And then there's guys like me who I want to be in scrubs. But
Right.
but you know when you do a lecture or you do stand up comedy or you go in there to meet a patient, you've only got 5 or 10 seconds to establish likability and trust and confidence. So first weigh on. To the girls, should the girls be in dresses and the boys be in ties, or scrubs the way?
I believe scrubs are the way. I understand what they're saying, but if the doctor puts on a lab coat and has on a different lab coat than the rest of the staff, even if you have, let's say, a young female dentist who doesn't look like she's the dentist, and I've run into a lot of them, they have this problem. But if they have on a nice, starched, nice lab coat, that the studies show that people bring respect to someone that's in a white coat. So I highly recommend it. I mean, number one, why ruin your clothes? But it's against infection control guidelines, and you need to be, you need to be protected, and you need to be comfortable, and you need to be professional. I mean, the studies are showing that the patients give you 60 seconds when they walk in your office. And in those 60 seconds, they're going to look at what you look like and how you act and how you carry yourself. And in those 60 seconds, they decide whether you're a good healthcare professional or not.
I know. I can't even believe it's 60 seconds. I mean,
that's what the studies are showing.
If they redo those studies down the road, it might even turn out to be 45 or 30. I mean, but you see the same pattern. Like say, you see it in commercials. I mean, why do they go with Samuel Jackson or these guys? Why do they pay those big bucks? Because they only got 30 to 60 seconds, and you already have your belief in him. My gosh, I've done stand up in 100 comedy places, and you get booed on your first three jokes. You're off the stage, and then they're in the back in the green room crying.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and it's same thing with doing a hygiene check. I mean, you walk in there, it all takes place in seconds. And I also heard another interesting thing about the brain, that the way our brain evolved is that when you were walking through the grasses and all of a sudden you saw a cheetah, you don't have time to sit there and think, well, he's bigger than me and he has long pointy teeth and he might not eat grass. I mean, you'd be dead if that's how your brain worked. Your brain rips through all of that stuff instantly and
Right.
tells you fight or flight. And you also saw it in school. I mean, when you and I were in school, you'd read the question and say, oh, it's B. But then you start overthinking it and overthinking, and then you erase B, and then you put C, and then after all these sessions, you thought, damn it, I had B. I put B. Look, I erased it.
Right.
And so that's how the brain works. That's like ability. So you're saying, I agree, very importantly, the doctor should look different than the assistant.
Absolutely.
And the
Yes.
assistant should look different than the front office.
Right. And scrubs are not scrubs are not scrubs are not scrubs. I mean, there's different levels of scrubs, and that's what you really need to look at. If you wear the big, baggy, unisex, horrible, wrinkled scrubs, that's how you're going to carry yourself, and that's how you're going to be perceived. But if you buy scrubs and lab coats that are fitted and more professional looking and nice starched colors, that's how your patients are going to see you. Now, as far as the whole office, I think everybody should be in the same color or complementary colors. And as far as the people that work in the front, they're the business people, they don't necessarily have to be in a uniform, but they should be matching to, like the rest of the office. Same fabric.
Do you sell clothes for the girls up front too?
I'm in the process of, I just developed some blouses for the ladies up front.
And by the way, we can't even say ladies anymore because after from 1980 to 2015, we lost 50 million manufacturing jobs, and boys are pouring into healthcare. I got 2 assistants right now that are boys. My office manager's a boy. It's a changing face from hospitals to dental offices.
You're exactly right. We do have 2 different styles of scrubs for the men, and we have 2 different styles of lab coats for the men also.
So you have 2 styles of lab coats and scrubs
for the guys, and
the boys.
2 different about 4 different styles for the ladies.
So you are sexist then. So the men get 2. The men get 2 and the women get 4. Now tell me how that flew with your conscience.
No, why? Because the guys are easier. That's what they want. My scrubs are different than most scrubs for men because they're not unisex, and they look more, especially my pants, look more like dress pants than like cargo pants. So
like
that's
cargo pants.
Yeah, that's what most scrub pants for men are. Is the ones with the big pockets on the side, and they look more like hunting pants, cargo pants.
Cargo. I never heard that term.
Mine look more like dress pants, and that's what the guys like. So they don't need a whole lot of variety in what they wear versus, the female, she wants a lot more variety.
But is it sexist for me to say, I mean, don't you think women care a lot more what they look like than guys, just on a general basis? Or is that not true?
No.
So you're saying basically I'm just a pig. But but no, I mean, I grew up with 5 sisters. I mean, they took an hour to get ready in the morning. They the bizarrest thing my dad and I both ever saw in our entire life, is my sister's eating breakfast. Me and my dad were all eating breakfast. My other sister comes down to eat breakfast. Now remember, both of these girls would become nuns.
Right.
She came down, sat down, saw that my sister was wearing her outfit or clothes or whatever. She dove across the table and stripped her and took her clothes back through. And my dad was just like, holy moly. Then I raised 4 boys, and sometimes I'd have to hide their shirt because they'd wear the same Raiders t-shirt 4 days in a row. And I'm like, dude, you can't wear the same shirt 4 days in a row. But I want to wear that shirt, so I'd have to hide it. But you're saying the boys and the girls are both really...
I'm saying that in the professional world. In everyday life, absolutely, I agree with you. And I was guilty of doing the same thing with my sister when I saw her in my clothes. But
Did you dive over the table, though? Did you go over the breakfast table?
But I got pretty upset. But as far as professional, like a lot, especially the younger dentists that I talk to, males, it's very important for them to look, and hygienists too, the male hygienists too. They are very, they want better stuff to wear, and it's hard for them to find.
So, but to answer your question, they don't need to wear a dress. They don't need to wear a shirt and tie. They just need to have a nice lab coat.
Yeah. Now, if they really want to wear street clothes, they can wear it with the lab coat. But honestly, I think it's better just for infection control and protecting yourself.
Well, it's tough because it's real easy for me to sit here and say I'm a boy and you're a girl. The hardest thing it is in business to realize that the silent generation thinks different than the baby boomers, thinks different than the millennials, and so you're trying to have a look, not to have one person, Debora Carrier, grade me and tell me much things. I mean, I'm trying to sell an implant to a 70-year-old man with a liver spot, and I'm trying to sell bleaching to a young millennial. So you have to have a look that fits the biggest percentage. So what would the bell curve be? What would the majority find the most respect in? You showing up in a dress or a shirt and tie, or are you showing up with scrubs and a lab coat?
What I believe is no matter what you wear, as long as you look professional and polished and your whole office has the same feel going on, I think that's what's important. Not so much hanging up on who's got what on, but everybody that works in there should have on the same color each day. There's a lot of studies that show that the patients perceive they're getting better treatment when everybody's in the same color. I don't know why that is, but they feel more comfortable, I think. So at the end of the day,
it looks more professional.
I don't know that it's so much whether the doctor wears street clothes with the lab coat or scrubs with a lab coat, but I think it's that everybody in the office needs to be impeccably dressed. So, so your patient's confident that the office is clean and they have confidence in your knowledge and your skill.
I'm sorry to ask you these questions that aren't really related, but they are kind of related. I can't think anybody I'd rather ask this. On Dental Town, because this is Dentistry Uncensored, unfiltered, raw. There's a lot of threads on dental school where dentists don't know what to do because they hired this hygienist and they interviewed and she hired up, but when she interviewed, she didn't have a gold pin in her nose. And then when she showed up to work, she had a gold pin in her nose. Or you have your favorite dental assistant for years and she comes back on Thursday sleeved and you're like, oh, what? I mean, and then they don't really want to talk about it because it might sound racist, sexist, whatever, but just address that, because again, it's not just how do you look like with your homies while you're at the club. I mean, you gotta have grandma and grandpa feel comfortable. You gotta have boomers feel comfortable, millennials feel comfortable. What do you say to a dental office when he says, I hired my hygienist, now she shows up with a bone in her nose or a visible tattoo? What is your thoughts on that?
I hear that all the time. In fact, I was at a conference this weekend and I heard it this weekend. And he said, my hygienist, when I see her out places, she looks amazing. And she comes to work and she just looks like she got up and threw the first thing on that she could find. My suggestion from that is from the get-go, is the minute they're hired, there is a dress code policy that they have to sign. And then that way you can go back to that. Because yes, I mean, everybody should look neat and clean. And as far as tattoos and piercings and all that kind of stuff, that's everybody's prerogative. That, it doesn't matter to me, but it's how your patients perceive you. And there's patients that are going to get upset about that. So those things need to be covered up and not there while you're working.
So do you think some people are upset by nasal piercings and visible tattoos? Do you think?
I've heard that they are, yeah. So you have to think about the respect that you need to give to your patient.
I got 50 patients my first 10 years because this guy across the street decided he was going to just grow a beard. And he was the best dentist. I'd let him work on me any day. Nice guy, unbelievable. And it was always the same person. It was always an old grandpa said, I didn't want something falling out of his beard into my mouth.
I know.
And it's just like, and my dad, I'll tell you his deep, dark secrets. He thought anybody that grew facial hair was just a lazy slob. I mean, if you're too lazy to get up and shave, I don't even want to talk to you. And I mean, I'm like, Dad, it's a mustache, dude. Get over it. It's a beard, but But so people are going to have these thoughts, and it's a lot easier. You're not going to change the world, so you got to change your policy.
Exactly. I mean, it's a shame that we have to think that way, but you do need to, I'm very open-minded and I'm not judgmental towards anybody, but I can't think that way when I'm in my dental office. I have to think like I'm a dental professional and I have to dress and act like one when I'm here.
Yeah, I don't want to be that way either, but it is obviously true that the smartest dentists in the world are all bald. It's always the case. I've never seen a difference. I want to go to another thing, and this might be weird or whatever, but what about colors? I remember when Ronald Reagan, his wife Nancy, it was always a red dress. I mean, It was like I don't think I've ever seen a picture of her in a dress that wasn't red. Are there better colors? Are there power colors? Are there more? Or are you trying to make them feel like I'm not going to hurt you? Are there more subtle, softer? Talk about color.
So yeah, there are studies that certain colors calm people down. I think the colors need to be very complementary to what your office is, which tend to be, more muted, more complementary colors. However, I have to tell you that I started making a red scrub in my scrub line, and when I wear it to work, my patients absolutely love it, and I've sold a bunch of them. So it's kind of just, a lot of it depends on where you live. Like I think probably the more tropical states can get away with some brighter colors than, some of the other states. But more importantly, there just has to be a common theme through the office.
Yeah, the states are all, I remember when the OSHA came out, everybody in Arizona was so like today, it's 118 degrees. The first couple of years I practiced, every assistant and hygiene, everybody wore white shorts and white tennis shoes. I mean, my God, to walk out and drive home in your car, you need to bring those two mittens from your kitchen. I mean, really, you'd have to get in your car and start the air conditioner for a couple minutes before you could even touch your wheel.
Right.
And then OSHA comes along and says, well, and it was back because of HIV, right?
Sure.
And that's what it was. And we're all like, okay, so someone in the government thinks that I'm going to get AIDS by you coughing on my knee, my calf, my thigh. Really? How does that work? But that is the law of the land, isn't it?
Yes. You must follow infection control, and it's not just for HIV; it's for a lot of different reasons to protect you.
But
and it's not
that because
but it protects your, anybody you come in contact with, your patient, you, and anybody else you come in contact with. That's why I see this all the time. You're supposed to wear your lab coat in your treatment room and leave it in your treatment room, and it doesn't happen. Or they don't wear a lab coat, and then they leave the office for the day in their scrubs. And think about what's on your scrubs, and you're going home and hugging your kids and making dinner, and it's, you don't need to ignore it.
And that's true. That's why I stopped hugging my kids the minute I became a dentist. I never hugged them again because it was for your own good, Ryan. I didn't want you to have hepatitis. And so do you have a dress code like that? If one of my homies listening, could you post? Do you have a dress code you could post on the message boards on Dental Town?
I absolutely could post that for you. Yep.
Well, we got 250,000 people in Dental Town. 50,000 have downloaded the app. There's 58 categories. I'm wondering what category it would be under. Would it be under? Let's see. It would be under endo. No, finance. Insurance. Office, oral path, ortho. I think it'd go best under. Practice management.
Yes.
And then it's ask a dental consultant, dental phobia, front office discussion, ideas to make your practice go, practice management administration form, staff management issues. That's what I wish you'd go to. I wish you go to category practice management, go under staff management issues, and say, hey, just did a podcast with this guy from GQ magazine, co-professional model of mine from New York, and he wanted me. And then Ryan, when we post the video, we'll drop it where she does that. But say Howard wanted you to post. This question that everybody's getting a lot about tattoos and earrings and things like that, and it's tough because I had a dental assistant. I wanted to hire him so bad, but he had a snake coming up the side of his neck, and it's like, I love him. I think he's cool. I'm good with it, but I don't know what percent. Phoenix has a lot of retired people in there, And some of those 60, 70, 80-year-old people come from a different generation where if you have a snake tattooed on your neck, you must have been in prison or you did drugs or you worshiped, some other deity. But yeah, I wish you'd post that underneath there because it's a very common question on Dental Town. And like
another way to handle that issue too is for the doctor to buy the uniforms for the office, and then that way you have total control over who's coming to work and what.
Yeah, and I got something else to say about that. Nothing irks me more when the dentist is wearing loops and the hygienist and the assistant aren't.
Oh, I know.
And then the same idiot will say, sometimes I'll go there to a hygiene check, or she cemented a temper and she left a big spicule of cement. I'm like, dude, you're wearing 3.8s and she's got a naked monkey eye going on. And so yeah, we buy the uniforms and we buy loops for everybody with wet hands. You're saying the doctor should control the uniform policy by, I'm going to buy it, this is what you wear. So most dental office work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days a week, 16 days a month. So what would you just do? Buy 4 different colors for 4 different days, and that's just so they just know what day you're wearing what.
Exactly.
And then do you wash that?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then do you leave the uniform there and the dental office washes them there? Because that's what we do. We got our own washer and dryer.
Yeah, that's exactly how it should work. Most offices that buy from us, they'll buy 4 sets of scrubs and 2 jackets for each employee. And they leave them at the office, they wash them at the office and everything stays there. And also having them embroidered. I think that's very important with your logo and then have a name tag for for your name. But to put your company logo on your uniforms.
And I'll never forget
they won't walk away.
Say it again?
I said, in that way, then they won't walk away. They'll stay there too. The uniforms.
Oh, if you put your office name on there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't think about that. But I do remember I figured this out with one of my first associates back in the 80s. And she went to numb up the patient, and an old senile grandpa grabbed her wrist and said, shouldn't the doctor be doing that?
Oh,
and she was a doctor. Then I thought to myself, well, okay, we can't blame grandpa for being stupid. There's 7.5 billion people on the earth. We can't blame him.
Right.
And that's when I decided doctors have to look different than the rest. And so the dentists are the only ones wearing the lab coats, and then their embroidered name should say doctor.
Well, anybody that's working with a patient should have some kind of lab coat or protective, disposable coat or something on. But what I like to see is the doctor in one color coat and the staff in a different color coat. Like I sell 3 different colors of coats, and we're going to be adding more colors, and have the doctor in white and have the rest of the team in the gray or black or navy, something like that.
Huh.
They do stand out.
Well, it makes sense. Imagine if you were in the hospital and some guy walked in, he had a tool belt on with the pliers, all that stuff. And then he walked over to you and started to start an IV. You'd be thinking, dude, are you the television repairman? Shouldn't, yeah, we communicate so much. And I also noticed that every franchise in America, from a Hilton to a Hyatt to a Hertz Rent-A-Car, all the way down to In-N-Out Burger, everyone's in a uniform.
Yep.
And then you go into a place that's going to treat you for cancer, and you have to say, excuse me, what is your name? Dude, if you go to Burger King, you know what her name is. It says Adrian right there.
Exactly.
And then you go into a place that's going to treat a life and death deal, and you say, I'm sorry, what is your name? I'm sorry, what do you do? Are you the doctor? No, I'm not the doctor. I'm the insurance coordinator. It's like...
Right. I belong to the Uniform Retailers Association, and I go to their meetings, and it's interesting to hear, especially the hospital where they're coming from. There is a big trend for all hospitals to go to color coding. And what I mean by that is, all the radiologists wear one color and all the PAs wear one color. And then that way, when you are a patient there, you're going to know my RN's in navy, my radiologist is in red. So you will know when somebody comes walking in your room who you're dealing with. And I think that's a fantastic idea.
That is really nice. I just if you put in twice as nice uniforms in the search bar, they're already talking about you. You put in uniforms, the list goes on forever. I wish you'd go in there someday and address all those. And it's good marketing for you because you can't go on there and say, oh, the answer is buy my uniform. That's spam. But you
Right.
can, everybody can start one thread for their speaking, their seminars. So if you start a thread, you could have one thread that shows uniforms, talk, discussion, whatever. But in the other threads, like if you did a search like uniforms, you're answering that, you can answer that, but in your signature, there's your name, your picture, your logo, uniform. I think you will command a lot of respect because you're already a hygienist of 38 years, and you're talking to a lot of people under 30. You know what I mean?
Right.
How does it
Yeah.
feel like to have done hygiene longer than most of your colleagues have been alive?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
You're
Doesn't
still
feel like it. It's I've been at the same office now for like 28 years, but it feels like 10 years. I mean, I still love it. I love my patients. I've been fortunate that it hasn't taken its toll on my body like, it has on a lot of people. That was another reason with my scrubs, I wanted to make them nice and comfortable because we have hard jobs. There's no doubt about it. We have hard jobs. And if by what you wear to work can make your job a little bit easier every day, that was one of my goals.
So you think it even leads to a healthier body over the long term?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Explain that why.
As far as what leads to a healthier body.
Like back pain, neck pain.
Oh,
You
how did I?
Do you think any of that's? I mean, it's a hard job, but do you think uniforms can help or hurt that? Because
Yeah, I know. I know it did in my case. I know the first day that I wore my uniforms to work, I was amazed that, when I'm reaching over to get something across the room, I could move because before I was like moving my entire body. I mean, it's whether you're sitting on a good stool or a bad stool, how you feel and you don't feel like you can move as much. It absolutely makes all the difference in the world. And then of course the temperature thing is huge.
But I've been a dentist in all 30 years, and right straight for me. There's a podiatrist. He's been there 30 years, and I just saw him at lunch yesterday. We both went in the burrito company, and he was in there, and he told me for 30 years that the majority of his clients are what? They're women wearing high heel shoes.
Oh,
And he just he doesn't even think they should be legal. I mean, it's like, and you go into these offices and you see some of these women dentists and front office ladies, and they're almost wobbling just to get to the copier machine. And I just think you can't do that for 30, 40, 50 years.
No, you can't. No, you have to be smart. You have to think about what toll this is going to take on my body. If you talk to the people in dentistry who are injured now, that's exactly what they say. I wish I would have paid attention to it. And the wonderful thing is now that we have the technology to help us, we have loopes, we have saddle stools, we have those kind of things to help us in our daily jobs that we didn't have 30 years ago.
And what do you wear on your feet? Is it tennis shoes, dress shoes, high heel shoes?
I wear nurses' shoes because they have support, and there's cute ones. You don't have to wear the
nurses' shoes. I never heard of cargo pants or nurses' shoes. I'm learning all kinds of vocabulary words. So what the hell is a nurse's shoe?
It's just a more comfortable. They kind of look like clogs. Some of them look like clogs, but there's all different brands, and they're made for being on your feet. And they're cute. They're not ugly.
Have you ever heard of cloggers?
Cloggers? Oh yeah.
The dancers? No, you can't make this up. So this little sweet lady the other night, she said to me, been a patient forever. She said, I'm in a group, the Cloggers, and we're having a performance at the high school, and I really wish you'd come. So I thought I'll go. It's a bunch of 70, 80-year-old ladies. It's kind of like a tap dancing, but they wore these shoes that made percussion. And they were all 70, 80-year-old women, and god dang, they were in good shape, and that looked so cool. But as I got older and older and older, I figured I finally, through trial and error, the only thing that I can stand on my feet on all day long and not even ever once think about my feet are ASICS tennis shoes. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems with ASICS tennis shoes, they all look like whoever designed them was on a peyote trip, and
right, exactly.
in some desert. I mean, it's all. And then it stands out. I mean, your shoes could be orange, black, green, red mixture, right. And then when you go to order a new pair, of course that color's gone and it no longer exists anymore. So now when I ever order ASICs, I order 2 pair at a time. But it's hard to even get them if they're not orange, red, green. Pink.
I know. I do wish that they would make those in just basic white or a gray or something like that.
Do you like ASICs?
Yeah, I don't personally wear them, but yeah, I like the look. But
Well,
you're right.
I
They
know
look a
one.
little
I know,
loud if you're wearing them with your uniform.
I know one thing though. Every single one of my podiatrist
Mhm.
friends or patients, they want you to wear New Balance A6. They want you to invest in a high dollar healthy
Sure.
shoe. And they
Hmm.
always say, if you don't believe them, just go to the American Association of Podiatric or whatever. But these
Right.
women and these millennial girls who are looking like they're all that in a bag of chips, they don't
Hmm.
realize they wear that deformed, crazy looking, silly thing, and they're going to be having foot surgery when they're 60.
And you're gonna pay for it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah, just live and learn. You can only tell people so many times, and
Now
they
you're
got.
in Georgia, so I assume most people are barefoot that work there.
Yeah, we don't own shoes in Georgia. No.
And I want to know why you live in Roswell, Georgia. Roswell, New Mexico, man, you'd get to work on UFOs.
Well, yeah, that would be fun, but Roswell, this it's pretty interesting around here.
Is
Atlanta's pretty eclectic.
is and where was my favorite band? REM. Were they from Roswell?
Athens.
Oh, Athens.
Yeah.
Did you like that band?
Yeah, I like that band. Yeah.
Was that the most proud thing that ever came out of Georgia in your mind, or was it the Atlanta Falcons going to the Super Bowl?
We have a lot of good musicians here, so
I know.
I'll take that. Yeah, I'm originally from Chicago, so answering the thing about the Falcons is hard for me because I'm a Bear fan and a Cub fan.
Yeah, Chicago. They have the most hardcore fans.
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
because I think it's tied directly to alcoholism.
Well, that's very true. That has a lot to do with it.
The harder the core, the fan they are, I think they just want to go to the bar and drink and watch the game or any game. But yeah,
Well, they have that cold weather to deal with, so they have to drink, stay warm.
I want to talk about something else that's amazing. So you've been a hygienist 30 years, but you've worked in your current job 20,
I've been the office I'm at right now 28 years, yeah.
20 years, and all these dentists, they're so afraid that corporate dentistry is taking over dentistry and all the patients are going to go to corporate dentistry. But do you think corporate dentistry is keeping their hygienist 28 years? I mean,
No,
do
no,
you see the staff turnover?
yeah. Yes, from the hygienists that I know that work in corporate dentistry, they're not happy.
And what do you think that you being there 28 years adds immense value to retaining customers for life?
Huge, huge.
It's everything.
Yeah,
And
I
all
have.
these young millennials want to talk about the 30 and under just drives me crazy. Like, well, you need to have 28 Yelp reviews, and you need to have 17 Google reviews, and you need to get on Twitter. And it's like, dude, no, you can't have all your staff quit every 2 years.
Exactly.
I mean, I've been here 30 years. People asked me in 2008, well, so what are you doing during the crash? Dude, I'm working on my patients' children's children now.
Exactly. That's me too. And that's so important. They feel they have trust in you and they feel comfortable with you and they just keep coming back. And I have patients that travel from China and London and Canada and New York and from all over the place. They just, they've moved away, but they just keep coming back because they have that comfort level of everyone in my office has been there a very long time. And that's important.
So what advice, what do you think the owner, is it a group practice, one owner?
Yeah, one doctor.
One doctor. So what do you think is in his leadership bag of karma that's able to keep a bunch of people in that office for 20 plus years?
He's one of the most laid back dentists I've ever met in my life. He's just very laid back, but he's the boss, but we all respect each other. And he respects us, and we've just had a very family environment in our office. And I've worked in other offices. Actually, the first office I worked at when I got out of hygiene school was a big group office, but it wasn't run like a corporation. It was run, like a smaller office. And I think that has a lot to do with what happens with turnover and employee satisfaction. And, you can't treat somebody like a factory worker and expect them to be a professional hygienist. So.
Yeah, and he has to respect you. And so many of these doctors have the God complex. I mean, like when I get on a plane, I always start turning to the person next to me and saying, hey, I'm just curious, you know, if you had to describe, not a lawyer, not a physician, but let's just go with the dentist. Give me 3 words to describe a dentist. It's never laid back. It's never cool. It's never a great guy. It's always arrogant, talking down, know-it-all. I've had grandma say, you know, when that doctor was telling me I had gum disease, I wanted to punch him because he was explaining it, making her feel bad.
Right.
So she wasn't releasing serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. She was releasing adrenaline, noradrenaline, fight or flight. When grandma wants to punch you,
Right.
you're not going to keep your staff and your patients for 20 years.
Exactly. In our office, we give the patients all the information and we give them, you know, everything they need to do, but we don't talk down to them as we're showing it to them. They're adults who are adults. We lay out the information for you. We lay out, you know, our knowledge to you, and then you choose to do what you want with it. But being this higher being, whatever you want to look at it that way, that's it. That's not the way to treat another human being.
And the dental schools are changing. I mean, 30 years ago, they all had this Marine Corps boot camp mentality that the meaner they were to you, they were doing it just because it was best for you. And now the dental schools are like, yeah, that's why none of your graduates give you money each year. What schools have the biggest dowry? Then they start studying the Notre Dames and the Harvards and realize, you know what they do differently? They respect their students.
Yeah,
they treat them like family. And these guys, I mean, Notre Dame, if their head priest sends out a letter, I mean, the worst it could do is $10 or $20 million. And if it's really a good letter, it'll be $50 million.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, same with Harvard.
Have that connection, and it's very important to have a human connection. Very.
Yeah, and it's got to be respect. So I want to see how laid back he is. I'm going to ask you some pointed questions. I'm probably going to get you fired. That's my goal. I'm going to get you to say stuff on a podcast, or he sends you an email tonight. So how laid back is he? What happens when the patient comes in and says, I want a cleaning and I don't want x-rays? Is he like, well, let's do a cleaning, let's build trust, we'll get x-rays out of him someday? Or is it like a hard policy, like then hit the door, Jack?
No, it isn't a hit the door, but it's these are the reasons why you need the x-rays. And, you know, we respect your opinion, but you need to respect the knowledge that we have. And, you know, this is why you need them, blah, blah, blah. And 9 times out of 10, they take the x-rays.
Okay, and what about that 1 out of 10? No x-rays.
Well, have a policy.
I'm not right in the head. I'm sure my mom dropped me.
We have a policy. We let them skip it once, but it's all notated in the chart, and that's it.
I know. And these dentists, so you let it go once. That's what I do too. It's like, I'm your dentist. I'm trying to help you. Right. And if you're not helping yourself, I don't see why. The dentist always says, well, then I can't help them all. No care is better than a little substandard care. And then they always say, well, it's because you're going to get sued. And I always go back and say, okay, well, I have major disability or malpractice companies that will send me all the claims they did last week. It's never all these little details. It's always something really bad happened. You know what I mean? It's an anesthesia death. It's a major implant case, peri-implantitis. You did a root canal. And 9 times out of 10, I want to say this: if a person, I'm trying to figure out your doc because he's obviously got an A+ in HR, keeping you 28 years. What if he does a denture on grandma and she comes back and says the old ones fits better? I'm putting my old ones back in. Here's the ones you made me, and I want my money back. And she lays them right on the counter. Right,
we've had that happen. It happened with my grandmother, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we work with them. You know, he adjusts them a few times and they keep coming back. And then, you know, it all is a individual basis, you know, what kind of patient they are, how they've worked with us through the years.
But my malpractice attorneys tell me so much of this noise would have been prevented if you didn't gave their money back or referred them to someone that could fix it. And the doctor's ego won't do it. Walmart, I mean, if you go buy a sleeping bag at Walmart, and then you go sit there and camp out all weekend at the river, and then bring it back on Monday with dirt, rocks, mud on it, and show them a scratch and say you want your money back, what does Walmart do?
They're going to take it back.
Yeah. And Sam Walton said, I'm not going to argue with it. And it's 1%.
Right.
And you can't let 1% of the crazy people cause you all this grief. Then the next thing you know, now the dentist has got to cancel a whole day's production because he's got to go down to the board, and he doesn't want to go down the board without an attorney, and then they have to wait there 3 hours. So it's like, okay, so you just lost a $5,000 day of production because you wouldn't give grandma back her $1,000 for the denture?
Right. I know. Yeah. You have to have common sense in this,
But common sense is not common. In
true.
dentistry.
It's not, well, it's just not common at all. There's a lot of people out there with not much common sense.
Yeah. So, I'm just starting to think I've had you, I've had you for 48 minutes. You just said, the millennials are, the podcasters are millennials. They're not boomers like us. What advice would you give these young dentists as they work with the hygienists? What advice would you give? We have a lot of hygienists on the show. What advice would you give the hygienists? How it sounds like you and your dentist have a great relationship. What advice would you give them to get along? Can't we all just get along?
I would recommend that they really listen to the hygienist and take care of the hygienist. Like I was saying with, all the, like you were bringing up with the loops or a saddle stool or whatever that can make her day-to-day easier. That's going to make her happier, which results in the patient being happier, which at the end reflects your bottom line, and it keeps everybody in the office happy. In my case with my doctor, he was very understanding about, if I had a family, if I had to do something with my son one day and I needed to reschedule a patient or, something like that. We're all people, we all have families, and I think that's really important to pay attention to the person, not to the job and how much she's got to produce on a daily basis, because she'll produce a ton for you if you treat her right, or not.
How many children did you have?
The hygienist. Pardon me?
How many children did you have?
One.
One son?
Mm-hmm.
And I have 4 sons. Do you think that's why you look 4 times better than me? It's because of my 4 boys? Gosh, Ryan, look how much stress you've done to me. And I'm looking at you thinking I should have stopped at Eric. And, it was Ryan, Zach, and Greg that killed me. Another thing, the co-diagnosing thing. I mean, some dentists won't let their hygienist talk. And I'm like, okay, well, we're selling the invisible. You didn't pull up in a Mercedes. You're not the rich doctor owner. You work here. They know that everybody in the hospital, they know who's an employee and who's an owner. What do you think of the co-diagnosing?
You have to think about how long that patient's with the hygienist. They're with that hygienist 45 minutes to an hour, and they're with the doctor for a minute or two. So I think that collaborating is very important. I've gotten to with my doctor where we can communicate without even talking, and we're on the same wavelength with what we're gonna how we're gonna treat the patient. But again, that's to be very open and really get to know your employees and be comfortable.
I won't even tolerate the I want them to be in there telling them everything they know in an honest and transparent way. And I want her to say, yeah, this is the cavity. It's into the nerve. Look how the infection's going at the bottom. That's an abscess. You need a root canal, and then a root canal need a crown. And then I go into other office and says, well, I can't say anything. It's like, what? You can't say anything? Right. That's a control freak weirdo who always has massive staff turnover and very low treatment plan acceptance rate. Then you'll go to another office where in the middle. They don't know where they're at. They're like, well, I can't say, I'm not the doctor, but I think you have something going on there. It's like, going on there? Is there one registered nurse in a hospital that would say, I think we have something going on here? Right. I mean, it's all about communication. I mean, I go to the hospital about every 10 years. I have the same ailment every 10 years, a kidney stone. And I mean, and it's gotten better the 3 times I've gone there from age, 25, 35, 45 to my last one, 55. And, they have a grease board in there. The nurse will come in there. Well, what questions do you have? And as I write my questions, she'll write it down. Right. And then she'll answer the whole thing. And then she'll write down the second or the third. And then when there's a shift change and a different nurse, or when the doctor comes in, they look at the grease board, and the doctor will just say, so do you understand all this? I mean, are we good here? I mean, it's just, it's all communication. It's all keeping staff for life.
have to have huge open communication, and your patient will pick up on that. They'll totally get and have trust for everybody in the office.
And then I want to talk about something in the news yesterday. Georgia just passed a law. Did you hear about that law for dental hygienists the other day?
Yeah, the one where we have, oh my gosh, I forget the name of it, but where we have, we can go out into the long-term nursing facilities and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I've always thought that the best thing for any industry was competition, and I've always been very against all the dentists fighting the hygienists with unsupervised hygiene. I mean, so when I was growing up, I'm 54. When I grew up in Kansas, on every Saturday and Sunday, if I walked down my street, every third garage, all the boys are in there trying to get this car to work again, playing a baseball deal. All the cars were horrible. And it wasn't until Japan and Germany started selling cars that actually worked. Chevy, Chrysler, and Ford. So I think corporate dentistry is very good for dentistry. They got better hours. They got better marketing. They got uniforms and name tags. And and it's going to raise the level of all the dentistry. And that's good for dentistry.
Sure.
The dentists and the patients. And I think that it is a crime. I don't know how you could say that you're really a dentist and you're really there for the patients by not letting a hygienist go up the street in some town of 1,000, and she lives out there, and she gets rid of her dining room table and her china closet. I never understood the china closet anyway, because every woman I know that has a big china closet hasn't cooked anything in the last 4 years, and they throw all that away and they put in an operatory. And then they start doing hygiene out of their home. And then if they see something, they write a referral slip. And then they drive into from the 1,000 town to the 5,000 town. And every dentist I know that lives up the street thinks that girl is the greatest girl in the world. And they send her cookies and gifts and muffins. And so I think any form of thwarting competition is just, it's pathetic. So what it was it in the Daily Democrat? What was it? Where was that article? Well, I thought nope, I can't find it. But anyway, yeah, so there was a lot of places they could work in. A hygienist could work unsupervised in domestic violence, nursing homes. And gosh, I wish I could find that list. I posted it.
What it does is it just gives a lot more patients access to care that we're never going to get that care, and that's what was frustrating about it. Is here's these people who need care, and there weren't any dentists to go give them care, and there were hygienists wanting to. So it was sad. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Well, but the most opportunity is during a disruption. You know what I mean? Because if you're sitting there and they tell you you're playing checkers, and then all of a sudden the law is passed and they say, okay, this is no longer checkers, it's chess. It's still the same board, the same number of pieces, but everything changes. And there's hygienists out there working in a job they hate for a boss that doesn't respect them, and just being able to go into a nursing home unsupervised, bada bang, bada bang, bada bang. I don't know about the domestic violence shelters. I think a lot of them are very hidden. I hear that most people who go to a domestic violence shelter, a lot of them say the neighbors didn't even know that's what it was. But man, how many nursing homes are in Georgia?
Well, here's a good example. I have a lot of patients in my practice that are both physically and mentally challenged. And some of them, it's hard for them to get to the office. And a lot of them, they live in group homes. So a lot of them, I wanted to be able to teach their caregivers how to help them with their home care. But legally in Georgia, I wasn't allowed to go to their home and teach their caregivers how to help them do their.
And who made that rule?
Yeah.
And who made that rule? What was it? Was it the Congress? Was it who made that rule?
Yeah.
A dental association.
Exactly.
With a bunch of dentists who walk in there. They do it in Arizona all the time, and they always you know they think they're good people. You know, they have the Bible in one hand, they wearing a crucifix, and then, you know, they're just really, really, really good people. And then when they get done signing the bill, it's like, I don't think that's anything that's good.
Right.
I mean, you just took away access to care, availability, competition, and your walnut brain rationalized it because you did it because you're all that, and this is what's best for the patient. And what ends up being best for the patient every time is that no care is better than some care.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
Yeah.
It's sad. I didn't know you were from Kansas. I'm from Kansas.
Really? Where are you from?
Topeka. I was born in Manhattan.
Really? K-State?
Yeah.
Wow. And Topeka's the capital.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Wichita.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And my mom, dad, I don't like to say where they're from because it's Parsons, Kansas. So now you know they were born in a barn. I mean, just everything you would think of anyone born in a barn in Parsons, Kansas is all true. A Farran family reunion looks like the CDC should be there taking DNA swabs to find out what the hell went wrong. But yeah, them are just good people there. That's what I like about Kansas. And you know, I can say the same thing for Phoenix. I mean, a lot of people say they live in a town and everybody's this. I mean, I feel in Phoenix like Kansas. I mean, I think any neighbor here would give me the shirt off his back.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like that home deal. So that was the hour. Hell, we went into overtime. So I'm gonna end with one thing. 6,000 little boys and girls just got out of dental school last month, and they're entering the workforce. If you had to give them you only have 2 minutes left with me. If you had to give them a 2-minute commencement speech as they come out of dental kindergarten and are about to go on and do dentistry for 40 years, what advice would you part with them?
Look and dress and act like the professional that you are. You just spent $1 bazillion and a bunch of years in dental school, and you're intelligent, you're skilled, and go out there and be that person. I mean, carry yourself the way you need to be. And I worked for a doctor years ago that dressed impeccably and carried himself amazingly well, and he was a horrible dentist, but the patients thought he was a good dentist by the way that he carried himself. And I know as a young new hygienist, you're afraid, you don't understand it all. You got to get out there and learn. That's why we're practicing. And but just dress the part, act the part, and you will be the part.
Do you think he knew he was a horrible dentist?
I don't know.
And sometimes I always wonder. I mean, dude, do you know that dentistry sucks, or is that, or you know, it's hard to say. I mean,
I don't think he did.
You don't think he knew he was?
I always think the best of people, but I don't know. I don't think so.
And I'll tell you one other thing. After doing this for 3 decades, they never remember who worked on any tooth. I mean, sometimes you'll do a filling on a tooth. They'll come back and say that tooth you did. It's completely, I can't, it's waking me up in the middle of the night. And you're like, okay, well, I did the tooth behind it. I didn't do that one. But the thing is, they never remember. I mean, even if they only have like 1 gold crown.
Right.
I'm like, Larry, somebody got in your mouth and made your tooth turn gold and you have no idea who did it. I mean, do you ever remember like waking up on a sidewalk and your mouth felt violated and there's a man running down? Could it have been that guy? I'm like, how? So the point is, they only remember how you made them feel.
Exactly. Absolutely. You hit it right there. That's exactly it. So.
And they never know good dentistry. You listen to anybody in your whole pedigree talk.
Exactly.
Oh, go to my doctor. She's the best OBGYN in the world. And I'll just say, well, half the MDs are board certified and half aren't. Is this one board certified? Oh, I have no idea. Did she, can you give me any empirical data? I mean, ask me one Shark Tank question if this OBGYN is good. They can't answer anything. They just know she's the greatest OBGYN in the world.
Yeah.
So concentrate. And I had you on the show. I called you. You did not call me. This was not a commercial because you've only got, you say 60 seconds to establish that first impression. If they trust you and want to be my doctor, I'm going to go with, I'm going to cut that down to 6. And you walk, because I come from comedy and stand-up comedy. I mean, that's a science in of itself. I mean, you go to YouTube and listen to, what was that 4 great comedians sitting there talking? It's Chris Rock, Bob Saget, Louis C.K. No, it was the guy from New York. The guy had a movie series, The New York Apartment. What's his name? The comedian that had Steinberg?
Oh,
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah.
Those four guys talked for like 2 hours on this deal, and I mean, just the science of it. Like Seinfeld would say, Monday I write the joke, but it's 12 words. I'll spend the next 3 days, every day my job is to take one word out of that joke. I need it tighter, more succinct. And then here's a dentist response. 7-minute explanation of a root canal.
You're right.
Are you out of your mind?
You're right.
I mean, every comedian that has $100 million to $1 billion says that communication's got to get tighter, succinct, tighter. And then there's a doctor rambling on. Grandma's, she's at the point like, is there any way you could just put me down? Should I go to the vet? So shorter, tighter communication, measure the response. You say your hygienist is great. Well, how many of her patients come back? And then when your hygienist didn't come back, how many of her patients didn't come back?
Exactly.
And it's us. So just learn the soft stuff. I think this conversation was so amazing because I think they got 6 seconds to walk in there and look the part, build likability, trustability, and if you can kill it on the chairside manner, if you can kill it on attracting and retaining staff, you can be the shittiest dentist in Phoenix and be financially set the rest of your life.
Exactly right.
We'll start that thread. You get one thread. Post pictures of your stuff. I hope this show helps you sell some uniforms.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I'll see you at the GQ Model Convention coming up this year on our next project. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hi, my name is Debora Carrier, and I'm the founder of Twice as Nice Uniforms. For 35 years of my life, I've been a dental hygienist, and 14 of those years I've been a CPR instructor. I also, on and off through all those years, I was a fashion model. Many healthcare providers work in cold environments. Often, they wear bulky layers over or under their scrubs in order to stay comfortable. This is not a practical or professional solution. I decided to solve this common problem by developing Twice as Nice uniforms. The Twice as Nice medical scrub is a patented design with a removable liner, giving you 2 uniforms in one. Our scrubs are designed for both fit and function. I partnered with a New York City-based fashion designer and fit expert who has worked with some of the largest and most respected brands. This helped me refine the Twice as Nice styles to complement all body types. Our fit is more like sportswear than the traditional pajama-style scrub. The ultra-thin liner is made of a high-quality performance fabric that keeps your body temperature regulated without the need for messy, unprofessional layers over or under your scrubs. And you have full freedom of movement, which we all know is critical for the healthcare provider. The lining material is antimicrobial, moisture wicking, and the removable liner keeps you warm when it's cold and cool when it's hot. The pockets were designed with your needs in mind. They will accommodate your tech devices and are strategically placed. We have different sleeve lengths so you can choose which style is best for you. The waistband combines a drawstring, flat back panel, and our special Twice as Nice Twice Plush elastic, which hugs your waist without pinching, bunching, or gapping. The lab coat has a revolutionary adjustable waistband that gives you a flexible, personalized fit for comfort, function, and style. The scrub fabric does not fade or pill even after multiple washings, is soft to the touch, has a 4-way stretch, yet retains its shape, giving you a flattering silhouette. At Twice as Nice Uniforms, our mission is bringing comfort to those who comfort others.